What's up, everybody? Welcome back to our weekly fantasy football show. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jay Rush, and I'm going to invite on my good pal and champion of ESPN leagues, Mr. Improv Pete.
As I live and breathe.
There he is, the champion of fantasy leagues.
Yeah, it was a tough battle, but we got there in the end. I mean, with everything that happened with COVID and, of course, the wonderful thing that we're going to talk about at the top of the show. I mean, a lot of stuff going on in fantasy, but for the most part, fantasy is over. You've had your championships, you've had your wins, your losses. So now we're looking at a week worth of football, just plain old football with playoffs and who's going to make it and who's not. Not a lot of teams are left. A lot of teams have been eliminated. I would like to say that the Saints still chucking away, still looking on the outside looking in, but they do have a shot. We're going to cover all of that. But as always, I'm joined with Mr. J. Rush. How are you today, sir?
Oh, I'm fabulous. I know it's one of your
Fabulous.
favorite words. Fabulous.
Fabulous is a fantastic word.
Yes.
But if you didn't know, this is our live fantasy football / now football show where we are
hmm
live every Thursday at 6:30 over on Facebook, over on YouTube, and over on the Twitter. So make sure you follow over on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, and of course, like the page. Keep up with those notifications every Thursday at 6:30. We bring all the football knowledge and expertise you need to know right here. Because you know what I'm saying to you, sir? I feel like I'm ready to just in the middle of the game, strip down and be so happy to be a football fan.
Uh, well, I'd appreciate if you don't do that.
But who
But,
did do that is, of course, Antonio Brown this past weekend against the Jets at MetLife Stadium.
well, there's been lots of reports about that. Supposedly he was injured. Other reports came out that he was unhappy about the amount of targets he was getting in the game, so he couldn't reach his bonuses. If I were a betting man, I would assume that that's the actual issue.
I
Uh,
mean, but he's such a prima donna where you just strut off the stage. You saw Mike Evans trying to talk to him, um, and to no avail. But what can you do? I mean, it's how Antonio Brown's always been, and I don't think he's ever going to change. And after this, I don't think he'll ever be in the NFL again.
he certainly will not change. A lot of people came out and were like, we wouldn't be surprised if he's in a boxing match by the end of the year, which also would not be a surprise. But he's saying, "Oh, I'm getting surgery and I'm coming back next year full force." Blah blah blah. I don't think anybody's really going to want to deal with that. Tom Brady stuck his neck out for him twice, and if there's anybody with that kind of pull in football, it's like probably
It's
only
Tom Brady.
him and him alone. Maybe Rodgers, as you've seen, as you got Randall Cobb and stuff like that back for this season. But before that, those guys are allowed to walk away. And I don't see him lobbying to get Antonio Brown on whatever team Rodgers ends up on, but it is what it is. We'll find out.
That we will, but I mean, the question needs to be answered is what's going on over in Tampa? Who do they have right now? Who is a healthy receiver that you have going into these playoffs? I mean, a few weeks back, we were thinking that Tampa was going to be the number one seed, even the number two. Great field advantage, especially playing down in Tampa, the warm weather. It's better than playing in Buffalo, or obviously in colder type stadiums. But now,
hmm
who's your go to guy? I mean, Godwin's out. Is it just Mike Evans now? Is that your go to man?
Well, again, they have all the tight ends in the world, so that doesn't hurt the cause. But
That is very
yeah,
fair.
as of right now, it seems to be until something happens. Until somebody comes back. Scotty Miller was a force, not a force, but he was usable in the playoffs last season. Hasn't done much this season. He steps in and gets it done. They had a kid get a touchdown and end up beating the Jets last week. Granted nobody was healthy on the field, but he ended up getting that touchdown at the end of the game against the Jets. Just doesn't really say much, but it happened. So
Like I
You
said,
know,
people were talking about, oh, look at how great Tom Brady is. No offense, you're going against the Jets, and Jets are not known for their defense. No disrespect to you and your team, but
no, not right now. They're
Tom
not.
Brady
They
was going
used
to
to be.
march down that field.
Yeah, nobody that didn't shock anybody. If it
But
did shock you, you're not a football fan and have no idea what's going on. But that's a
that,
different story.
that is very fair. Give me 1 second, sir. My jersey does not want to cooperate with this screen, so talk to the people for a minute.
What's up, people? For 1 minute, we're gonna jump right into the playoff scenarios. So I'll load in with that since I got it up in front of me. I'm gonna start with NFC. Green Bay is the number one seed. They have the bye. They have home field advantage. There's no that cannot change. So here's where it gets extremely interesting. Two seed. The Rams are the two seed if they win. No ifs, ands, or buts. They could also be the two seed if they tie and Tampa loses or ties. Or scenario three is if Arizona loses or ties, Tampa loses, and Dallas loses or ties. The Rams would all be the two. Tampa could be the two with a win and a Rams loss or tie, or they tie and a Rams loss. Dallas is still fighting for the two. They need to win. Everybody else needs to lose. We'll just simplify that. And Arizona can sneak in and still steal the two if they win, the Rams lose, and Tampa loses. So the Rams can get the two, and Dallas has no effect on them. Dallas is banged up this week, so I'm not sure how hard they'll go, especially because they don't have the easiest road to the two. I'm not going to go nuts on the threes. You can essentially figure it out. We're going to go to the bottom of that. Four, same thing. Requires lots of teams losing. So, but realistically, whoever loses the NFC West is probably going to be the 5 seed, and at this rate, playing Dallas. So, we talked about that. We can reverse it. If the Rams lose and Arizona wins, Arizona jumps up. The Rams would be the 5 going to Dallas. If Arizona loses or ties, or the Rams win or tie, Arizona's the 5 seed. So then here's the bottom half where it gets interesting, and I know somebody will be excited to hear about this. So we start at the 6 seed. San Fran is 6 right now. They stay 6 if they win. They stay 6 if they tie and Philly loses or ties, or if Philly loses and the Saints lose or tie. Philly can get the 6 if they win and San Fran loses or ties, or if they tie and San Fran loses, or if San Fran loses and the Saints win. So realistically, Philly's in the playoffs.
That's
They
just where
cannot
they end.
they can't be knocked out. The San Fran can be knocked out by the Saints. So we're gonna skip down to that. And there's only one scenario. It's the Saints win
And
and
San
San
Fran
Fran
loses.
loses. That's the only way they get in. San Fran obviously has ways of getting in with ties and everything. You would say that's silly, but there's been a tie this year. There's been a tie for like the last 4 or 5 years, sadly. There's almost multiple ties this year. So that's pretty much how the NFC is breaking down. The AFC is a lot more complicated because we have 4 teams that could be the 1 seed.
Insane.
But it shows you how competitive the top half of the AFC is, where everybody's sitting right there. The NFC, the Packers,
We're that team.
they locked it in.
Yeah.
Nobody can pass them. Here we got 4 different teams, one of which isn't even leading the division, could still win the AFC. So Tennessee gets the 1 if they win. That's obviously pretty simple because they're the 1 right now. If they tie and Kansas City loses or ties, they're the 1. If Kansas City, Cincy, and New England lose, they're the 1. And there's a third one where if Kansas City loses, Cincinnati loses or ties, and Buffalo wins, Tennessee is still the 1. Because there's certain weird ones where strength of schedule comes into play for tiebreakers. So you may hear about that later on. Because the Miami Dolphins, who've been eliminated, actually hold someone's playoff fate in their hands. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Kansas City can get the 1 if they win, and Tennessee loses or ties, or if they tie and Tennessee loses. Cincinnati can get the 1 if they win. and everybody else loses, or if they win and everybody but Buffalo can win. But realistically, they need Tennessee and Kansas City to lose. They have to win. And then the fourth team with a chance to get the one seed is your New England Patriots, who don't even lead the East. New England needs to win. Buffalo needs a lose or tie. Tennessee needs to lose, and Kansas City needs to lose. So kind of like the NFC, where the one team does not affect it, like Dallas does not affect the NFC West at all. Over here, we got the Bengals not affecting this because they beat the Bengals. I think it was like 41-7. It was a beatdown. So New England's got the tiebreaker on them. Obviously, wins losses that will affect the 1 through 5 seeds. So we're not gonna jump through that again. Here's where we're gonna start at the 5 seed only because there's teams not in the playoffs that can still become the 5 seed. Where the NFC, that's not an option. Buffalo's the 5 if they tie and New England wins. Or if they lose and New England wins or ties, the Colts lose or tie and Vegas ties gives Buffalo the 5. New England's the 5 if they win and Buffalo wins. Or if they tie and Buffalo ties. Or if they lose and the Colts tie or lose and Vegas loses or ties. Weird one with a bunch of ties involved. Nobody's expecting that. Moving along. Colts are the 5 if they win, New England loses, and Vegas loses or ties. Or if they win, Buffalo loses and Vegas loses or ties. So the East kind of can boost up the Colts, who had a rough week last week, but they're still in play for a 5. And then the Chargers, if they win, Buffalo loses, and New England wins, and the Colts lose, can get the 5. And good old Vegas still hanging around. If they win and Buffalo loses, they're the 5. Or if they win and New England loses, they are the 5. Now we get interesting.
It hasn't been interesting yet.
Nope. Buffalo, New England. Just because we said those teams could drop as far as 6, but the real change starts to come in with these teams winning or losing. The Colts realistically hold their own destiny. They play Jacksonville. The Colts win, they're in. So we'll simplify it by that. If the Colts win, they're in. The Chargers Raiders game, the winner of that wins, and they're in. Simple, basic, straight to the point. There are lots of other scenarios. There's so many scenarios, and we're not going to go with them. So we're going to just sum it up right here. If the Colts lose, here's where things happen. So if the Colts end up losing, the Chargers can get in. Well, the Chargers get in when the Colts win. Chargers win, New England loss, and Colts win. Chargers are in. Chargers win, Buffalo win or tie, and Indy wins. Chargers are in. Chargers tie and Indy wins or ties. They're in. Vegas. If Vegas ties and Indy loses, they're in. Vegas is also in. If they lose, the Colts lose, and Pittsburgh loses or ties again, gets Vegas in. Baltimore can get in, and they have one scenario. They need to win. They need the Chargers to lose. They need the Colts to lose. And they need the Miami Dolphins to lose. Because there's where their strength of schedule comes into play. So Miami Dolphins, who are eliminated from the playoffs, can still end the Ravens season if they end up winning. And then we got Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh wins, Colts loss, and Vegas loss. They're in. Or if Pittsburgh wins, Colts loss, Chargers loss, which could obviously certainly happen because Chargers Raiders playing each other. So that could do some things, but again, there's also bad scenarios where if the Colts lose and the Chargers Raiders tie. So if the Colts lose the Sunday night game, the teams could literally just play to tie and they'd both be in the playoffs. It's not a good thing for football, like if it played out like that, but hey, who's stopping these teams? Do you want to risk not making the playoffs? So if the Colts lose, they give the Sunday night game a chance to tie and both get in. Excuse me. The only way the Chargers can be eliminated is if they lose. Simple as that. Vegas can be eliminated if they lose or tie and Indy wins or ties, or if they lose and Pittsburgh wins. Baltimore scenario's not good. If they lose or tie, they're out. If the Chargers win or tie, they're out. If the Colts win or tie, they're out. Or if the Dolphins win, they're out. And Pittsburgh needs, if they lose or tie, they're out. If Indy wins or ties, they're out. Or if Vegas ties, they're out. So that's your fun playoff scenarios. So you got teams with something to play for, but real long shots, especially Baltimore. If anybody wins, including a team that's not in the playoffs, if they win, they're out. So it's gonna be tough roads for a team like that. Pittsburgh, they're tying, coming back to haunt them. It could cost Ben playoffs in his final season because they tied. That's that. There's obviously gazillions of different things to talk about. It also breaks down the actual standings. Like who holds tiebreakers. Like right now, even though they're both eliminated, like Minnesota owns the tiebreaker over Atlanta for the 9 and 10 seeds. They're eliminated. No one cares. No point talking about it. Same thing like Miami, Baltimore. Miami owns the tiebreaker over Baltimore, but Miami's eliminated. Baltimore's not. Cleveland owns the tiebreaker over Denver. And of course, the Jets own the tiebreaker over the Texans because the Jets can't mess things up correctly.
No, they cannot.
So that's all that. Out of breath.
So what you're saying is, if you're an AFC fan, lots of shit to be paying attention to this coming up weekend. If you're on the NFC side, it's really just the Saints. If you're a Saints fan, you're hoping for San Fran to lose and for the Saints to win.
Yeah, if you're saying, like we said, there's one scenario. They win, San Fran loses. There's nothing else that can change it. No ties, no.
Nope, I know.
Win, lose.
Very simple.
That's
not
it.
Like the AFC, which is just
you're not over here looking for a 4-win team to tie the Packers to change the strength of schedule to get you in. No, it's just simple. You need to win. They need to lose. If they win and you win, whoops. There's nothing you can do about it.
Well, of course, we'll go over all the teams and who they're facing and all that fun jazz in just a moment. Yeah. But do you feel out the get-go, without looking into this week's schedule, who do you think the Colts have the best chance? I would think that they would. With the scenario that you have just presented to me, I feel like the Colts could have the best chance, next to the Chargers, of course.
Well, on paper, obviously, it looks really good playing Jacksonville. But as we've seen, Jacksonville beat Buffalo. So Carson Wentz looked horrible last week, coming off the COVID reserve list.
But not a lot of quarterbacks usually look good.
Correct. He had no practice. He's unvaccinated, so he didn't look what Carson Wentz looked the weeks coming, into that game. And I mean, he's had his roller coaster of a season too, like a lot of people have. But when he was at his top, they were playing good. They have the best running back in football right now. So, there's no guarantees. Urban Meyer's not there.
And there is no guarantees in this football season.
That is true. Urban Meyer's not there to sabotage, so you take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, James Robinson got hurt, but Urban Meyer's not there to sabotage, so anything could happen. But they look good, and obviously, the Chargers.
I hope the Raiders, man.
There's really only one scenario, and it's lose. It's the only thing that knocks them out of the playoffs. They could tie, they could win. They're in. Other teams could lose. They're in. So
let's jump over to this next week game, shall we?
Yeah, let's go.
So we'll start right up here with the Chiefs and Broncos.
Yeah, so the first two games are Saturday games. Chiefs and Broncos in Broncos. Chiefs have something to play for.
Of course.
And it's a shot at the 1 seed, or at least the 2 seed, which guarantees them home field for a while. Mm-hmm. But must win for the Chiefs if they want all of that, because everybody could pass them. things like that. So must-win game against an eliminated team with nothing to play for. Realistically, obviously guys are playing to stay in the league, possibly stay on the team, etc. Is Teddy Bridgewater going to be the Broncos quarterback next year? Who knows? So he's got something to play for. Melvin Gordon splitting reps with a rookie running back. Will Melvin Gordon be back? So he's got something to prove. Well, other than that, Jerry Judy's not going anywhere. Courtland Sutton's not going anywhere. No Fant's not going anywhere. So, those guys have anything to play for outside of pride? Nope. Padding stats, maybe that bonus in the contracts. But just going in, looking at this game, if the Chiefs play their starters, and go full throttle, they got hot. There's no reason why they shouldn't win this game.
I agree. And I think if you're Andy Reid, you of course would want to play your starters. You want to get that one possible 1 or 2 seed just so you could be in home field. You don't have to worry about travel. You're comfortable in your stadium. So this would be all signs of Kansas City playing all your guys up front. Let's put on a game. Let's make it so that it's a nice little bit of a score. And then maybe we sit Mahomes, we sit Hill, in the second half of the game when we're up by 3 touchdowns, where we feel like we're in a comfortable enough situation. I think that this is the Chiefs' time to say, no, we looked a little rough. We looked a little bit of problematic in the midseason. They had that string of losses, but now we're coming to show why we were in the Super Bowl last year and why we are a contender again for the Super Bowl. So
Well,
you have to play them.
there's good and there's bad about this. You're playing the first game of the week. So Titans know if you won or lost. The Bengals know if you won or lost. Everybody knows if you won or lost. So the guys vying for the one will already know. If you lose, those teams know. So now like, okay, that's one team out of the mix. Boom. So there is that, but you also know if you win, now that puts pressure on these teams vying for the one because now they know they need to win. But to be twofold is if the Chiefs win, they're the only other team that could get the one with a win. So realistically, pressure's only on the Titans, who have activated Derrick Henry. I can't see him playing, but they're trying to get him ready for the playoffs.
That's smart.
So them getting the first round bye is huge.
Of course.
We'll talk about them later.
So we definitely think that the Chiefs, in all respects, should come out with the victory here.
You would think so. It doesn't matter that it's in Denver, but I would think the Chiefs should handle business and put pressure on the Titans. Try and force the Titans into the winning to be that number 1 seed.
Make them play for that spot. Cowboys Eagles. Now this game's very interesting. Obviously, both are playoff teams.
Correct. Division rivals, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas does have something to play for, but again,
but Dallas is also not at full strength.
Correct. Dallas not at full strength, and they need a lot to go right for them to jump up. The same thing, like we said, those teams that play on Sunday will already know. So if Dallas lost, they can't move up anyway. So those teams will know that. So if Dallas loses, Philly can move up to the 6. Not, Philly loses, they're going to be the 7. More than likely, unless things change with the Saints game. But again, we talked about that. Mm-hmm. So, but realistically, I don't see either team, which sucks because it's a primetime game. The Cowboys came out and said they were going to go full throttle, but we saw Michael Gallup got hurt and is out for the year.
Torn ACL, like that. Correct?
Yep. So there's not a ton of incentive. Do you really want to go into a playoff game, possibly playing the Rams or the Cardinals without more playmakers? Is it really that worth it? You could win this game and still end up being the worst division winner. So what is the real incentive? Do you just take the 4 and say, okay, we're gonna go beat the Rams and the Cards and then go to Green Bay? Or do you fight for it, risk it, possibly get guys hurt? Now you lose that first round game and it doesn't matter? I'm gonna weigh these options. I think the Cowboys win this game only because I feel like Philly's going to play it smart and say, look, Jalen Hurts has already gotten hurt once this year. Granted, Gardner Minshew played really good. but he faced the Jets. He will not be facing the Jets next week in the playoffs. So I think you'd rather have Jalen Hurts playing.
Of course.
So maybe he plays a quarter, maybe he plays half the game, and then Minshew gets some reps just in case. Things like that. I don't see Philly pushing it.
Well,
You know,
what does Philly have to push? I mean, like we said before, they're the 6th or the 7th.
but
There's
that's
no ifs,
why
ands, or
that's why I
buts.
think Dallas ends up by default winning the game because Philly's gonna can pack it in and say, hey, we're not getting our starters hurt. We
You're
know
right.
we're going to the NFC West more than likely. Whoever wins that division, we know we're going there. Let's be healthy as we can be.
To have a fightable chance against
Yeah,
either the Rams or the Cardinals, whoever ends up being in that.
exactly.
Agreed, agreed. I definitely do think that the Cowboys will win, but I don't think it's going to be a pretty game. I definitely think it's going to be
No, I think,
not
like
a
I said,
prime time game by any stretch. But
no, like I said, I think they de facto win just because Philly shuts it down and plays it smart and doesn't risk injury to stars. Or what they consider stars. Some of their playmakers did not get it done this year, but you're gonna want them on the field either way.
agreed, agreed. Going on to another in the same NFC East,
Oh god, this is the
Washington
game of the week.
versus the Giants. Good lord.
Game of the week right here.
You got to give us just a moment of silence for Washington because they really were almost there, man.
They were, but they were playing behind eight ball all season.
Of course, but that is a heartbreak to see. I mean, it's just upsetting. I mean, this game right now, this is a pride game. This is Washington
Well,
saying,
here's what we're really going to talk about in this game. I don't mean to cut you off, and I don't want to spend forever in this game. We've got it. We've got a supposed leak of a team name. So supposedly they're going to be the Washington Admirals. It was leaked by a podcast. Some people think it may have been just to throw people off because for like a day or two there was also a website where Washington Admirals or something like that redirected you to the football team's website. So we're not really sure, but it sounds like they're going to become the Washington Admirals. They will not name that until after the Super Bowl because it's just the way the league works. They don't
yeah,
want to take anything away from that. But supposedly they're going to be the Washington Admirals. The other thing of importance is it sounds like, and could be wrong, but it makes a lot of sense. This may be Taylor Heineke's last game as Washington starter because he didn't have the same magic this year. Obviously, Fitzmagic behind him got hurt. So this could be the end of the rope for Taylor Heineke. He seems like a more than serviceable backup, and he had some nice moments, but he had such an up and down year that if you're going to be competitive, I don't think he's the guy. There are some with where they're sitting at with draft pick right now. I've seen some mock drafts where they have them taking a quarterback, and I would not be surprised.
I mean, I agree. I think um, Washington does have the weapons. I mean, you have McLaurin as a great wide receiver. Not, of course, one of the top tiers where you would say is a top 5, maybe even a top 10, but I would say top
Well,
15.
he
I would
he
put.
has the talent to be definitely a top 10 and possibly a top 7 wide receiver. He wasn't
Agreed.
far from it coming into this year, but did quarterback play hurt him? He also got hurt, didn't help.
Hmm. You have
Then you get the
Gibson who start.
Giants, who are a mess. So
Yeah,
this is
the Giant.
it's an exploitable matchup. Was where I was going with.
Oh, 100%.
So and it would be real hard. This is a game I wouldn't bet on because I don't know. Usually, teams with nothing to play for, in a division rivalry, you're going to go hard, which is commendable because it's the last game of the season. But I just don't know. Like, Mike Glennon is out for the Giants. We already knew Daniel Jones was out. So you're back to Jake Fromm, who was horrible in his only start. So you not there's not much expected of the Giants. So how hard is Washington pushing this game? Is the point. That's why I'm like, this is just an ugly game. You want to get your young kids the stats, like you were about to say, Gibson, McLaurin, things like that. I believe Ricky Seals Jones is now out for the year, which is tough. They lost Logan Thomas a bunch of times this season. but they had guys who were, experiencing things that they hadn't done. So you like to get them some more stats, and and some players are like that. We'll talk about one later on. But you want your guys going off on a positive note, but you also don't want them, getting hurt, stuff like that in a meaningless game.
I agree with that, but I do think the edge has to go to Washington. You see, Heineke may not be the starter next year. All points to he won't be, but you still want to put on a good performance. Yeah, you're not at home. I get that, but yeah, where I was going is you have McLaurin, you have Gibson. Show why you shouldn't sleep on Washington. We said earlier in the season that the Cowboys were obviously the best looking all around team, and it shows with them clinching the division, But you have Washington, who really was nobody knew where they were going to fall, and they did put up a worthy schedule this year and put up a fight. And I think against the Giants, where the Giants are literally dog shit, they have not been over 500 in the last 4 to 5 years. I don't remember the exact. I think even maybe 6 years. They have not had a winning record in 6 years. That is deplorable as a organization.
Well, the stat that I sent you guys in the group chat was that they weren't even at 500 at any point
Yeah, that's what
in
I'm
the last
saying.
5 not ending the year at any point.
I
2 weeks in they weren't 1-1. They were always 0-2, something to that effect. So that's how rough they've been. And like I said, they're starting from who I believe they're starting from, unless they signed some other guy off the street, to play
you're
quarterback.
not
But
starting for the Giants. I mean, I think you do a hell of a job, better than who they have
I
been.
could, but like, do they play Barkley? Do they risk him, getting hurt again? You know, what is his future going to be with the Giants? Things like that.
Oh.
There's been rumors. There's been lots of rumors, and they're all rumors, and we're in this area, so we hear the rumors about Harbaugh leaving Michigan to come coach the Giants. There's been rumors about Russell Wilson, the Giants going hard for him because they have multiple draft picks,
Mishu Mania going
and
to the Giants. I've heard.
it would be better than most of the guys I have right now. But point being
Agreed.
is they are rumors. We need to see them happen.
Mm-hmm.
What I was saying is the Giants have multiple first round draft picks. Seattle does not because they made that trade with the Jets, so they're losing out on that. So they may want to recoup draft picks, but who knows what's going on behind the scenes? Will Pete Carroll be back? Will Russell Wilson be back? All those things. So these are all rumors at the moment. We need to see. They also said the coach and Daniel Jones will be back. Obviously, if they get a quarterback, Daniel Jones will not be back. And if Harbaugh is coming to town, I can promise you Joe Judge will not be back. He's had some real interesting, awkward pressers of late that are rubbing
Mm-hmm.
people the wrong way. It's very hard to see him coming back, but again, I do not own the team. I'm not a general manager. The general manager is also on a hot seat, so he may not be back, but these are all things that time will tell once this season comes to an end, which thankfully for Giants fans in a misery will be coming to an end this week. But there's still playoff football, so they need to wait.
we had this conversation weeks ago back on the show is when we talked about the Las Vegas Raiders and
Hmm.
how they just looked like a just not knowing what the hell was going on over there.
Yep,
And we've turned it around. Well, we didn't turn around, but they have turned it around where
correct.
now they have a chance to make the playoffs because
Hmm.
they course corrected. The Giants have not been course correcting, and that's been their problem. They need to stop saying, Daniel Jones is their guy. He's not working out. You need to get and this is, like I said, all rumors that I've heard. You need to get somebody like Mishu Mania coming over there as maybe your starter, draft a nice rookie, have him learn from Mishu, who has been established enough and played enough games where you can learn from him. And if Mishu's not working, then you take him halfway out the season and you try the rookie. I mean, this thought process of Daniel Jones is our guy is getting to be ridiculous. Saquon has not been delivering. Galladay has not been delivering. You have to look at yourself as an organization and say, for the last 5 years, at no point have we been over 500. That is deplorable, especially of a team who defeated the undefeated New England Patriots so many years ago. Obviously, different team. I understand that. But you need to get back to that Giants route, and you're not there right now. So, with that said, I think that Washington will win this game just because you have Heineke, you have Gibson, you have McLaurin wanting to show, hey, we are contender. What are the Giants showing? That Saquon Barkley might break 100 rushing yards? It has become a joke in New York.
Well, they need to get something going. The only thing I will say is because the Giants have at the moment, two top 10 draft picks. They have too many needs to probably draft a quarterback. Yes, they could draft a quarterback, but the talent that's going to be there, they need to fill out this team. But again, that
Well,
will
the
be seen.
quarterbacks don't look good this year. Maybe the following year we could have a conversation, but this year
Well, there's
we're
a
not really
couple.
stacked in the
There's a couple
quarterbacks.
that definitely, there's ones that came from lower on the board and got higher up. The ones that were higher up and dropped down lower.
Mm-hmm.
We already know Pittsburgh's gonna be looking for a quarterback, stuff like that. But just saying, there's a lot more things that could fill needs for the Giants than a quarterback for this year. So who knows? But again, if the GM gets fired, the new GM may want to put his stamp on the team, and it's with a franchise quarterback, things like that. So
Do you
there's a
think Russell Wilson would be a good fit to the Giants?
no.
Just quick. I know you want to move on, but I just quick question. I don't
I
think
mean,
we
he should be a good fit to any team, but no, because the Giants aren't a competitive team, and by
Mhm.
trading away draft picks to get Russell Wilson, that's not filling areas of need. Which means now you're a 5-win team or whatever they are at the moment, trying to fill needs with free agents. And what are you selling them on outside of, hey, look, we got Russell Wilson, I guess.
Mhm.
Oh, hey, look, we got Saquon Barkley who rushes for 40 yards a game.
If you're lucky.
Or Kenny Galladay who left Detroit, who won 2 games this year and came to the Giants and did nothing. But got a big contract. Lockett and Metcalf aren't coming with him, so
That is true. And Galladay is not your answer right now. But
correct.
we're done talking about this game. We've spent way too many minutes on this game already.
Uh huh.
The game I want to talk about next is the Bengals Browns. Big game for the Bengals. And let's talk about Chase last week. Having a fucking fantastic game.
Well,
Over
you're not
200 yards. I mean, just incredible. Easily a top 5 wide receiver next year.
You would think so. Guess what you will not be doing this week? You will not be talking about Chase or Burrow or Mixon or Baker Mayfield. So there's not a lot of intrigue in this game. The Bengals seem like they're content with where they are, and hey, I don't blame them. They were a struggling franchise. They're
Mhm.
going to the playoffs. Let's keep our guys healthy. Mixon tested positive. Burrow's a little banged up. There's no point in running
Rushing.
people out there to get them hurt. Yes, Jamar Chase is having a great rookie season. Him going out and getting 130 yards in a meaningless game. I mean, yes, they can move up, but realistically, it's a meaningless game because
I agree.
no Joe Burrow, no Joe Mixon. So realistically, it's a meaningless game. All he's doing is padding stats. He gets hurt, and now I get it. You have Boyd and Higgins and stuff, but it's not the same having Chase, Boyd, and Higgins. There's
Mhm.
really nothing for them to play for. Like we said, the Browns are shutting down Baker Mayfield. Mayfield's been horrible anyway, so this is another game where it's like, okay, is the Browns backup better than the Bengals backup? But
Agreed.
again, the Bengals may not be playing everybody, so is the Browns backup better than the Bengals second squad? Probably. So I feel like in Cleveland, this is a game that the Browns are going to win because the Bengals play it smart and don't play the big boys.
I agree with that. I don't think there's anything to add with this game. You have to rest. I mean, the Bengals getting this playoff spot. I mean, a lot of people have been sleeping on the Bengals, but I think they could be a very deadly force in the playoffs. I don't realistically see them going the whole way, but I could see them maybe having an upset or two. I see them maybe putting up a fight. So it's best to rest your starters, take the week. Like I said, you're really not going to change that dramatically in the playoffs. So play it smart, take the time. And like you said, the Browns should squeak out a victory. You're home. Give that Cleveland a home field, last week of the season. Send them home happy. That's all I got to say about this game.
Yeah, I mean, again, Chubb will probably play for a bit, Landry will play, things like that.
Hmm.
And the other big thing is you'll already know if the Chiefs won or lost. So if the Chiefs win, you know, again, there's not a lot you're doing at that point. So
But what
you
a
know,
big game could be is the Steelers versus the Ravens.
could be, but they both teams need a lot of help, and we broke down the Ravens. Needing Miami to lose. If Miami wins, they're already eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
So just that then and there, like the Ravens can win and still be eliminated. So, and then the same thing for the Steelers. They can win and be eliminated because of that tie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
But
great. It's a game that
you're still going to see a competitive game between the two for the hopes of getting that playoff chance.
sure, but it's not going to be a pretty game as
Mm-mm.
the last bunch have been. 2017, 14, 13, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Great that it's a 1 o'clock game and somebody should win the game, etc. But
Someone should.
it's a tie. And the Steelers get eliminated with another tie. So
I agree.
it's just one of those shitty games where you have a chance, somebody should win the game, and it's probably not going to matter anyway.
I agree with that. So and to ending this conversation with this, I would think the Ravens by a touchdown. That would be my prediction.
I don't even. I picked the Steelers in the pick and pool last week. Ben's last home game. It happened. He won. The
But
Steelers go out
respect
again.
again me as the ending of your career in Pittsburgh. I did want to bring that up. I think that
Yep.
was awesome.
But do they go hard again and get him a definite win in his last actual game? These are all things
You
need to
have
be
to. I
seen.
mean,
To be honest, I don't care because, like I said, somebody's gonna win this game, and they're not gonna make the playoffs. So many things need to go right for both teams. I'm just not,
seeing that happen.
yeah.
I agreed. I
When
agreed.
your fate is a
Miami.
non-playoff team needing to lose the game. Like,
That is fair. I
sure,
definitely think though it would be. I'm not saying it's going to be the game of the week. I'm not saying that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just saying that I feel like this game would a piss or would it be if one of these teams made it. That's all I'm saying.
sure, great. And then more than likely, you're probably going to Kansas City then.
Exactly. So
So,
who really is winning
you
there?
know, I mean, anything could happen, as we said, but you're going to Kansas City in a playoff game.
In Arrowhead,
Probably,
which is
probably not a fun thing.
not at all. You know what will be a fun game?
Yeah, what will be a fun game?
The Packers Lions.
And why
When
will it be a
everybody
fun
on the
game?
Packers is not playing.
That would make sense because again, we talked about it. We started off with number 12.
Mhm.
They're the number one seed, and nothing can change that. I mean, if they give the Packers a week 19 bye and had everybody else play another game, then things could affect that. But I don't believe that's happening. I believe we're gonna have football playoffs next week. So the Packers are the 1 seed. Aaron Rodgers said he wants to play. I do not know why. I I do know why he's trying to win MVP, but do you really need to go torch the Lions to prove that you're the MVP? Probably not. You've thrown a whopping 4 interceptions all season. I'm pretty sure you're going to win MVP. Tom Brady will argue that, but pretty sure you're going to win MVP. So enjoy
And
it.
it's the
The
Lions.
Super Bowl is more important than winning the MVP. But
Agreed. So this game, like I said, is this nothing. Packers gonna
I don't
rest
know
all
if
their
I don't
players.
know if Jared Goff's coming back to play the game. The Lions are playing hard still. Didn't look like it last week, but they were. St. Brown is breaking out this year, which is a great thing for the Lions. They got
And
their,
great thing for fantasy.
of course, but for the Lions' perspective, you got Swift, and now you probably can trust Brown, and usually you can trust Hawkinson. So you're feeling good. Now, hey, let's go get that quarterback. Let's go
Mm-hmm.
build.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. We've got weapons instead of looking like the two next teams, not the two of the next games that we're talking about with teams. But anyway,
Colts, Jaguars at home.
all right. So we got our first game of importance. The Jaguars at home can end the Colts season. They are division rivals. Lawrence finally threw a touchdown to the correct team for the first time in like 8 weeks. So there is some momentum building for the Jaguars. They've thrown a touchdown. Will they pull off this upset?
No.
I don't think so either. But here's the first game where there's actually like legitimately something guaranteed. Colts win, they're in. Jags win, the Colts could be out. This is that first game where there's like something defined. The other games we're talking about are teams on the outside, probably staying on the outside, or battling for, seeding. This is the first game where somebody can be knocked out of the playoffs by an inferior team. So, like I said, the Jaguars have had the number one pick. They took the hot college commodity. They took his rookie running back. He got hurt. They had Shark. He got hurt. James Robinson. He got hurt. Their tight end. Wait for it. He got hurt. Marvin Jones played. Not great. Don't know if it's because of the quarterback. More than likely. But Jacksonville's offense does not look good. Yes, they beat
So this is
Buffalo.
the Colts to win.
Yeah. I mean, Carson Wentz didn't look great last week either.
But him
But
coming off of COVID, statistics show that after coming back from COVID, quarterbacks usually don't have the best return game.
but you know what? They have Jonathan Taylor. Jacksonville does not. So, like I said, the playmakers on Jacksonville were MIA all year, probably because of the rookie quarterback. Either way, their offense doesn't look good. They need to figure out something. Lawrence will play. I have no doubt about that, unless the higher ups say, "Hey, we think he got enough experience this year. Sit him down." I don't see that happening. But I feel like some of the other guys should get a shot. Great Marvin Jones, but he's got nothing to prove, and he didn't have a good year anyway. But he's got nothing to prove, so you don't need to roll Marvin Jones out there. You roll, this running back who's filled in now since Robinson got hurt. Cool, get him 30 carries. See what he does. He may be the backup, next year, which then makes somebody else expendable. But get him his touches. Get your young tight ends some looks. Get your younger receivers who might be your number 5 receiver. Sit Marvin down, say, Marvin, you're gonna play, but we want to see these guys. That's what the Jaguars need, and that's the reason why, if they're actually a team looking to build to the future, need to be doing. If they're doing that, it's another de facto where the Colts win because the other team is not putting their best foot forward.
I agree. Nothing more to be said. Colts have the weapons. They should win.
Not that Jacksonville's best foot forward as much, but
Bears Vikings.
Yes.
The ultimate snooze fest.
So here we go. Here's a report that came out weeks ago, and everybody's been saying it and thinking it. Probably Matt Nagy's last game as the Bears coach. They are coming off that impressive win against the Giants last week. So he's really building momentum for whatever team decides to hire him as a offensive coordinator next season. But what do we got here? Two teams. We're in the division, same division, not going to playoffs. Yes,
I'm just thrilled. Pride at this point. Who division rivalries? Let's just see what happens.
Will Justin Fields be healthy enough to start so he can show that he should be the quarterback next year? Andy Dalton played last week. Nick Folk, we talked about it, I think, last week or whatever. He proved to be a capable backup. And if he decides he wants to keep playing, someone will take him on as a backup. He doesn't need to be on the team with 2 other quarterbacks. He can go somewhere where he can back up a young kid. I don't think he'd be the answer in Washington, but, it could be a thing. Something like that, or he could be a fill-in. Say Seattle does trade Russell Wilson. Nick Foles can step in for the year while mentoring, a young quarterback like that. Things like that. So there's a whole ton of possibilities. The Bears offseason will be something to be seen. Probably not a good thing. They'll probably franchise Allen Robinson again. He won't love that, but there's always that chance. Maybe Allen Robinson's not back. Montgomery ain't going nowhere, but is Fields going to be the starter? Will Robinson be on the team? Robert Quinn had a great year. He set their franchise sack record. So good on him. He's going to earn himself some bucks. But overall, they suck.
Vikings by 14.
Well, and that's where you move into the Vikings. Will they go crazy? I don't know. Will Kirk Cousins be back next year? I don't know. Should he be back next year?
I don't know.
He's a lot to be desired. I think it's been 2 or 3 years now, definitely two, that they didn't make the playoffs with having one of the best receivers in football and when healthy, one of the best running backs in football.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, realistically, they have two really good receivers and possibly a third. Osborne had a good year with Thielen missing some time. So they seem to have the offense, and they didn't get it done with Kirk Cousins. So
Well, let's back up a bit. So you said that this is the second or third year with Kirk Cousins. I want to say it's the third, but in the last 3 years, or realistically in the last 2 years, they've made the playoffs, or at
no,
least been.
no, they have not made the playoffs the last 2 years.
They haven't.
They didn't make the playoffs last year. You know
Oh,
when the last time they made the playoffs? They beat the Saints.
no, you know what? No,
And you know when
that's
the
well
last time they
done.
made the playoffs before that? They beat the Saints again.
You know what?
So
I was
and
trying
then
to be nice to the Vikings, but you know what? I'm glad the Vikings are not in. No,
exactly, you're welcome. So
but no, it's something where you need to get the yesteryear of the Vikings and how they were, and the question needs to be answered: is Kirk Cousins that guy? You have the weapons with Dalvin Cook being a top 5 running back when healthy, Adam Thielen, who is a fantastic wide receiver, and you have these weapons. So, is it something where you have to invest in a quarterback now? Is Kirk Cousins just not the guy anymore in Minnesota? That has to be answered in this offseason, I think.
could we see Kirk Cousins back to Washington? I could see that being a thing. I know he's pissy pants with them about money, etc., but he was the highest paid quarterback at the end of his tenure from Washington, which then also led him to a massive overpay by the Vikings to get him away from the Jets. So he should be thanking Washington because Washington blew up his bank account by franchise tagging him and then ending up with the Vikings giving him all that guaranteed money. Would that make sense for a team like Washington? Absolutely. If both teams put their egos aside, absolutely. He was winning in Washington. Now he's got weapons again in Washington. So I
I'm
could
going to
see
throw you
that being a
one
reunion. Go
where
ahead.
Kurt Cousins goes to Pittsburgh.
I could see that as well. Because they have the foundation in place. They have a pretty good defense. And by a pretty good defense, their defense isn't good at all. But TJ Watt is extremely good,
Mm-hmm.
which then puts their defense to in that pretty good range because he takes over games.
Yep.
So now if they do something like that where they add Kirk Cousins and they sign a free agent or, they draft somebody, and I'm not even saying it has to be a first round pick, but they fill out needs. We know they took a running back in the first round, so they've got a young stud running back. They've got Johnson. They've got Claypool. They'll probably have Juju for another year, assuming.
Mm-hmm.
So you're giving whoever's going to be their quarterback weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need to focus on that part. So you can say, hey, let's put something around TJ Watt. And maybe all of a sudden we have a really good defense instead of a below average defense, but we have Watt.
And you give Kurt Cousins a 1-year contract, maybe 2 years. Let's see how you mesh with this team.
In reality, that would be great, but somebody would offer him more, and and you could say it stupidly, but if Pittsburgh's like, hey, Kurt, we'll give you 1 year deal, 35 million, and somebody stupid like the Giants come out and say, you know what, fuck it, Daniel Jones sucks. We're gonna give you a 5-year deal. This will be your last big contract. something like that, where the money is just outrageous because it's the Giants and they're pathetic and everything. You can't turn that down. You know, if he
Agreed.
was if he was 25 years old, sure. Because you can go out and get a bet on yourself, a baseball reference, a Marcus Simeon. You bet on yourself, go nuts, get that big free agent contract the next year. If it's something like that, sure. But if somebody's going to throw big money at you,
And we
okay,
age that you are. No,
you know,
no, I get you. I get you.
like okay, thank you, I'll take your money. Maybe we'll win. We probably won't win, but hey, I have Barkley, Galladay, whatever. We look good on paper. We probably won't be good like that. Sure, it's very hard to turn that down.
I'm very curious to see what the Vikings do this postseason. I really
I
am.
said it last week. I feel like there's going to be a big quarterback carousel. So you could be a lot of different quarterbacks in different places. I wouldn't be shocked. Kirk Cousins is one of them. Like I said, Russell Wilson. We know the Steelers need a quarterback. The Bears
That's
have
why I said to you about
18
Pittsburgh. I
quarterbacks.
think
So
so. Now, as we go on to these final 8 games, these are 8 humongous games. Let's just start with that. All big playoff implications, big win loss. So let's jump right into it with the Titans versus the Texans. Whoo!
again, obviously on paper, the game the Titans should win. So that should give them the 1 seed, which then gives them the ability to rest Derrick Henry, etc., etc. You rest AJ Brown, all of those things. You rest Julio Jones.
Mhm.
He's having foot problems of late. He did come back, but he's older. He could probably use that rest. Perfect scenario for the Titans having the Texans. And again, you already know what the Chiefs done. So there's a bunch of different things playing into that. Same thing you said earlier. Titans could run it up in the first half and then just sit everybody down. You know, put it in neutral and be good to go. Very winnable game for them. Texans, same area code as the Jaguars. We need to see what young guys have. Let's go get it. Mills has gotten playing time at the back end of the season. Is he going to be on our team? We know Cook's had a great year, but what does he do being on that team?
Mm-hmm.
Can you get a little something for him? The running backs haven't worked out. Rex Burkhead did have a good fantasy week 2 weeks ago, but Rex Burkhead is not who you're building your team around.
Nope.
Certainly hasn't been David Johnson. So, you know, it's not much there. But, there was spurts where the other wide receivers on the Texans did do something, and that's what they need to see. Again, we know what Cooks can do. He's older though, but we know what Cooks can do. We need to see Conley. We need to see Nico Collins. Nico Collins has been pretty good, but we need to see him. Is he a star? Probably not, but can he be a two? They need to see that. Is he a three? An above average three? Maybe. But again, he's on a bad team, so it's very hard to judge that. But give him play. Throw the ball. Let Mills throw the ball. Let those guys try and make plays, and move along to the offseason and get ready for that.
I stand by what I said earlier in the show. I think that the Titans definitely should, I think, play. I'm not saying everybody, but you rest Derrick Henry, obviously. Foreman, the doorman, can just run it down. You have maybe AJ Brown play maybe a quarter. Just get some points on the board, and then halftime when you're up by 2 touchdowns, three, you sit everybody and you just let the defense do their thing.
But
The
you need to
Texans,
see. You need
what?
to see. The Chiefs
Yeah,
won on Saturday. That changes everything.
that is
That's
that
just
is also
that already
fair.
changed. So you need to you know what you're going into, which is great for them. You know things could happen and they don't need to win. Things could happen and they definitely have to win. They'll know.
But I
Yeah, it's a
definitely
one
like I
o'clock game, but again, they know where they're sitting at. They could fall as far as I believe three, assuming everybody else, like the four, like New England jumps up,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that means everybody else lost, which means those teams aren't jumping them. So I think they can fall as far as three. Not a bummer, but if you fall below one, you're playing next week.
So that's why I think there is something to play for, but time will tell what they do. And like I said, with the Texans, Brandon Cooks was very fantasy relevant. Definitely put up some major points for fantasy this year. Definitely going to be somebody to look into. Not obviously as a first top wide receiver, but you get down in a couple rounds deep. Definitely somebody to be looking at. Constantly getting at least double digit points. So it's
Well, here's
also
here's the easy way to look at it. I get it, he's older, but so are these guys. You're a GM and you want a veteran receiver on your team. You can choose from Brandon Cooks, Antonio Brown, and Deshaun Jackson. Who are you taking out of those three? One's a prima donna who cries about everything, Deshaun Jackson. The other is a prima donna who cries about everything and apparently gets hurt and beats up women in Antonio Brown. And then you've got Cooks. What are you saying bad about Cooks? I mean, maybe I forgot something that he did, but guess what? That tells you something right there. He hasn't caused problems in the last couple of years that I'm not sitting there like shit. Cooks murdered 17 people and then got a second chance.
mhm.
That's not sitting here like, man, Cooks is a fuck up, blah, blah, blah. So if you're a GM and you're looking at that and you're like, okay, if I can get Cooks at a reasonable price and he's a veteran and he's going to help us win, I'm taking him over Antonio Brown, who might be more talented and is slightly younger, but 10 times more of a headache.
Mhm.
So
And
he's
you
going
got
to be,
that he's then you see that he's been with the organization. He knows for the year. He knows how things work. Young players look up to him. He produces. It's a smart thing with the right price. Like you said, the right price has to be there. But I don't. I would like to see Brandon Cooks stay with the Texans because I think they. I won't say they're a playoff team next year. Far from it. But I think they might become a possible 500 team.
well, there's another thing that we talked about also is we got to get the whole Deshaun Watson drama out of the way.
Hmm.
Is there a way that you get him to come back? Type of deal. Obviously, that changes the dynamic of the team, having a superstar quarterback. Or
Hmm.
what do you get for trading him? Because it's that many more pieces that you use to build said team. But like I said, Cook's having a good year, gives you that thing. Now, and like I said, you can throw another one out there where there's a younger option. Do you want Cooks or do you want Odell Beckham? Odell Beckham's been a headache. Brandon Cooks has not been a headache. Things like that. Now you're looking at, okay, younger talented player or an established, non-headache player. You're
Hmm.
putting yourself in that thing where you might be highly sought after over an Odell Beckham now, and that bodes well for you.
I'm very surprised that they didn't make the Saints at least didn't make a pull for Brandon Cooks, especially
Seeing the
when
team
Michael
that they
Thomas
had,
didn't come back.
seeing what they had, and look at where they're sitting right here, where they need a win, and San Fran to lose again in the playoffs. What a difference Cooks would have made this year, and they had a chance to get him at the trade deadline. I understand getting Mark Ingram, but at that point, if you're getting Mark Ingram, why are you not getting Cooks? What what scared that away? Or even so, even if it's not Cooks, why did you not get anything? Cool, you like Callaway, you like this guy, you like that guy. You didn't have Michael Thomas, and Callaway's not as good as Cooks has been, or whoever. So that's on the Saints. And now we're going to talk about the Saints and the Falcons. And the Saints
And a
need to win.
must win.
And a must win for the Saints to have any hope at getting in the playoffs. What hurts also is the other game is also at the same time.
So, fun fact: this game was scheduled for 1 o'clock.
Correct.
They moved it to 4:25.
Yes, because teams will say that they do not scoreboard watch, but they absolutely will scoreboard watch. So you be damn sure that if this game was in New Orleans, the team's been known to not post a score of the other game.
Hmm.
And the same thing, the 49ers are also on the road. So the Rams can really, because again, the Rams want to clinch the division. and Arizona's also got a 4 o'clock game. So the Rams might be blasting that score all over the place, especially if the Saints are winning,
Of course, of course.
because now you're in their head. You know, you want to win because you're looking at seeding, and realistically, you don't want them in the playoffs. So the team that they're fighting with, if they're up, you're in their head. So that's why the NFL did that. It brings you know people wanting to watch the game.
Yeah, of course. And I don't know if you want to begin or if I should begin with this game with the
Go ahead.
Saints. I mean,
Go ahead. Talk me up. Tell me about the Saints and how they're going
this.
to dominate Matt Ryan and everything.
I mean, this Sean Payne, Taysom Hill. You got to win this game. I mean, there's nothing about it to say, but you have to win. You have to just go on full throttle. You have to go to Alvin Kamara. You have to have
Yeah, Alvin
him just
Kamara, who's not been good of late.
not at all. But you said it to earlier. Cowboy, not saying he's an amazing wide receiver. Definitely a disappointment this year. I will be the first to say that, being a Saints fan that I am. But
Hmm.
in the recent couple of weeks, he has been showing promise.
But he's still dropping passes. And I'm
Exactly.
not saying that he's dropping, 8 balls a game, but he's dropping the ones, where it's third down, 3rd and 8, and he catches the ball and it's a first down. He's been dropping those ones, and those
Hmm.
hurt. Those are the killers. He might make an amazing diving catch on 1st and 10. Great. Now it's 1st and 10 all over again. Now
But
you're
in
sitting
those
here, if you
big
catch that
moments,
ball, yeah, you catch that ball on 3rd and 8, you get a first down, you move into chains, whatever. Now you're here punting, and trying to flip field position because you dropped a pass that would have moved the chains. The good thing for the Falcons, I'm sorry, for the Saints, is that Kyle Pitts got hurt. I don't think he's playing. I know he got fairly hurt. I don't know the severity because it was kind of like annoyed because he was having a good game and then he got me to take a quick peek. But if Kyle Pitts does not play, it's a very good thing for the Saints because that takes away, you'll have no Calvin Ridley, you'll have no Kyle Pitts.
it it comes to the argument of coming as a Saints fan. Kamara has not been showing up.
Hmm.
So what do? You look at other weapons. You look at Devontae Harris, who has always been delivering. It's just plain simple. He's not that big play guy, but he's consistent. And in this game, you need consistency. And to win, especially in Atlanta, when realistically Matt Ryan could be done after this year?
It certainly could be. He could
Question mark.
have
So
a.
you have Matt Ryan playing his final home game, wanting to put up a good showing. Now,
Mhm.
when you're the Saints on the outside looking in, and is the only NFC team on the outside looking in, nobody else, it's just the Saints, and you need San Fran to lose, who will get to them, facing the Rams, which very much can, even though San Fran has been known to beat the Rams, but we'll get to that again. You need to come with all cylinders. You need to go to those players that can make plays. Yeah, Alvin Kamara can run up and get a couple yards, but if you have Callaway dropping these passes, like you said, 3rd and 7 on a crucial first down,
Mhm.
you need to look at players like Harris, people that they're not expecting. You need Taysom Hill to feel comfortable enough where, you know me, I always say, run the ball, Taysom, run the ball, Taysom. Do those short passes. Do what Brady does, where, you're not looking for the big play down the field. You're looking at Harris to get open on the slant and just boom, give me 8 yards. Okay, 2nd and 2. Then you have Kamara run up and get 3 yards. All right, we're back to 1st and 10. And just rinse and repeat and go to these players that can make plays. And yeah, you have Cowaway for maybe a little bit of a deeper play, but you're all on full blast. And if Matt Ryan is indeed the quarterback of the last year of the Atlanta Falcons, we've talked about it last week. We think that maybe he'll get a job within the organization. He'll stay with Atlanta because he's been there for Atlanta. But how, when you're not home, does Matt Ryan not want to do what Big Ben did last week, being in Pittsburgh and putting on a show to try to win. Falcons have nothing to play for. They're not in the playoffs.
Correct.
Uh, but
So
the
you want
Saints
some
have
good
to
news or
deliver,
you
and
want some bad news?
I can't wait.
We'll pick one.
Give me the bad news.
Mark Ingram's been downgraded on the injury list. So that's not a good thing
Well,
because
that's why I haven't mentioned him.
you want your best players playing, and if Kamara's sucking it up again, Mark Ingram might have to be your guy.
Then Mark, okay, you got Mark Ingram out.
Did they actually rule him out? I just saw you got downgraded.
I, when he gets downgraded, I don't believe that he will play. But
But then the
it's
good news is, so earlier in the week, the Falcons said we are not ruling Kyle Pitts out. Now it's been like 3 minutes, 4 minutes ago since I looked it up though. But when I looked it up, as of 1 minute earlier, the Falcons had signed a tight end today. So that's usually not a good sign that Kyle Pitts is going to be playing.
that is very fair. I also want to everybody, and this furthers my point, and this is how I'll stop with talking. Okay, the Falcons side tight end, cool. But if you're the Falcons, you're looking at, okay, this is a playoff match for the Saints. They're obviously going to look at Kamara because Kamara is the star. Hello, I wore his jersey in the beginning of the show. But like I said, this is where you look at pieces that you have on your field, whether it be Callaway, whether it be Harris, or it be Traquan Smith, which Traquan Smith is not a Michael Thomas level player, but has been producing and having those big plays. So why not have it where you have Traquan Smith being that number one receiver, Callaway doing those big first down plays. You have Matt Ryan's coming home party, being home. You have to know that the Saints are going to be driven to win this game. Yes, and San Fran is, of course, going to be playing the Rams. How the hell do you not have Atlanta be showing that game and have San Fran the Rams showing the Saints game? This is going to be fuel to the fire for Sean Payne to finally say, you know what? Yeah, we don't have Drew Brees. Yeah, we don't have Michael Thomas. Yeah, we traded for Mark Ingram, but he's not working out right now. He's just not going to probably play this week. So these are the up and coming players to show why the Saints are the only team left in the playoff hunt for the NFC. Saints
Well,
are going to win. It's not going to be
we've talked
pretty.
about this. It's a division game. The Falcons want to end the Saints season.
Of course.
So the Falcons aren't just going to roll over for the Saints.
Of course.
So their game plan will be to stop Kamara because he's still your best player. And again, we don't know. Maybe this is Matt Ryan's last game, and maybe they've talked about it behind closed doors. You saw what happened with Ben in Pittsburgh. He didn't play great. They made damn sure that he won that game. So who's to say Matt Ryan didn't come out and say, hey boys, I'm gonna call it after this. I'm not. My body's hurting. Whatever. Let's go. It's a home game. Let's go end this Saints season. Go out on top. Blah blah blah. We had a great season, better than anybody expected. Let's cap it off. You don't know. You don't know what's being said.
Agreed.
I'm not. Do I think the Saints will win the game? Absolutely. But I don't see. There's no reason why the Falcons aren't going to give them a run for their money.
Of course. And that's why I'm saying you're looking at Kamara as the focal point. That's when you look at Smith, you look at Callaway, you look at Harris, you look at the wide receivers and do those short, tight those short, tight passes and not focus on Taysom Hill running, Kamara running, fucking Jones Jr. running when Kamara's not there. You need to
Of
have the
course,
passing game. And I think
we'll
this
same thing we've talked about with the younger bad teams though. The Falcons do have guys with stuff to prove. Zacchaeus isn't a household name. He
Mhm.
wants to prove that he's a number 3. Cordell Patterson had a career revival. He wants to prove that he should be a part of the picture next year. Mike Davis, who's been a bust, needs to prove. He's been better the back end of the year, but that's after Patterson took his job. Then he started playing better. So he played better as a backup than a starter. But Mike Davis needs to prove, hey, I should be in the NFL. Worst case is I should be the backup. All things like that. So the Falcons still have lots of things to play for.
Agreed. So obviously you know where I stand with the fucking Saints winning this goddamn game, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't noticed, you're very new to the channel, and you should subscribe if you're new because the Saints are going to win this game and make their way to the playoffs, and most likely face the Rams, which I think is a pisser because when we talk about the Rams versus the 49ers, when the Rams win and the Saints win, the Saints are going to face the Rams, which I think is pretty funny. But we'll get to that game. Don't you worry. We're going to just truckle on through to the Seahawks versus the Cardinals. Now, you have the Seahawks versus the Cardinals in a game that the Cardinals need to win. So you have good old Kyler Murray coming in. They're home. You got that home field vibe. How is Kyler Murray going to react by winning this game and wanting to lock up and showing why that, again, starting off strong? You go back to the beginning of this show when we started. I was very high on the Cardinals, and Mr. J. Rush here will tell you that I was very high on the Cardinals, going
You
7
tell
and
me
0.
about how high you were on the Cardinals, but you didn't draft
7 and
any
0.
Cardinals. So
But
I don't know how high you are on the Cardinals.
let me tell you something. If I'll put it on record here, if the Cardinals win the Super Bowl, just saying, if they somehow win the Super Bowl, I will buy a Kyler Murray jersey.
You know what that's called? A bandwagon hopper and a front runner.
I've always been a fan of
Team you're
Kyler
high
Murray.
on? Seattle and Russell Wilson. I heard about, we're going to get a Russell Wilson jersey. And then what happened? They stunk up the fucking whole season. And now where are you?
I've always liked Russell Wilson. Let me tell you something.
And you're over here talking up the Cardinals. You're
I
such
would
a
get that
Cardinals
jersey
fan.
tomorrow.
Did you draft Russell Wilson in fantasy?
I did.
Did you draft Kyler Murray in fantasy?
No, because you motherfuckers.
You're not a Cardinals fan. You're not a Kyler Murray fan. Did you draft Hopkins?
Did I have him last year?
Did you draft Connor? No. Did you draft Edmonds? No. I don't want to hear about what a Cardinal fan and how high you are. Did you draft Lockett? Yes. Did you draft Wilson? Yes. You were driving that Seahawks wagon, and then wheels fell off that thing in like week 3. And you're like, fuck these guys. I love Kyler Murray.
I've always liked Kyler Murray, and that's what I'm saying.
When you didn't draft him. When you could have drafted him. You took Barkley. You took whoever.
When you go and look, when you look at that, how do you not take Barkley over Kyler Murray there?
Explain to me something. Did you win a fantasy league this year?
Yes.
Was Kyler Murray your quarterback?
No.
Okay. So I don't hear about Kyler Murray anymore. He lost to Detroit.
And I will say that in all the leagues I drafted, in the 4 leagues, I had Josh Allen, which is the one that I won.
Yep.
We had Rodgers, where should have won.
You were the 2 seed with Aaron Rodgers, not Kyler Murray. Okay. Moving on.
Yep. We had, who the fuck did I have in the Friends League?
Yeah, Mahomes.
I had Mahomes, thank you. And then I had Russell Wilson. And who was the worst out of the 4 of them was Russell Wilson.
Because you were the 3 seed in the other ESPN or whatever with Mahomes. So you had Allen and you won. You had Rodgers and you were the 2 seed. You had Mahomes and you were the 3 seed. Mm-hmm. And then you had Russell Wilson and you're like the 8 seed.
I was the 7. Thank you very much.
Oh, that sums it up. If you just had not Russell, you could have been the 6 seed. But anyway.
So that brings us all the way back to Russell Wilson and the Seahawks have not had the year they should. And you have to know that Seattle is looking at maybe either moving Russell Wilson, getting rid of Pete Carroll. Something has to happen in Seattle.
It certainly does. This is a fantasy show, though, so I'm going to give you something. I don't remember if I sent it in a group chat to you. We'll pretend like I didn't, and I'm going to ask the question, and we're going to see if you can answer it. One player has 100-plus targets this season with 0 drops. Who is that player?
Oh, God. I just saw this stat too. Son of a bitch. I know it, but I'm blanking on the name.
It is your boy, Tyler Lockett. So as bad as Russell Wilson's been all year, Tyler Lockett did his part. He did not drop passes. We just talked about Saints dropping key passes. Tyler Lockett has 0 drops this season. He's the only player in the league with 100-plus targets. So Cooper Kupp has at least a drop. Justin
Mm-hmm.
Jefferson has a drop. Any of those wide receivers, they've at least dropped a pass.
Mm-hmm.
Lockett, with as bad as Russell Wilson has been, has not dropped a pass. That is the only positive you can say about the Seahawks this season at this
Mm-hmm.
moment. They did win last week. DK Metcalf went off. He didn't have a ton of yards, but he had 3 touchdowns.
Yep, he
They
did.
beat the Lions, which I can't say is the team they're facing this week. Can't do. But again, it's another divisional matchup, and we're going to say this all day long because look at all these games. They're all division games.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you got a beaten down Seahawks team, and there's 2 reasons why they want to win. They don't want the team that they're playing at the end of the season to end up winning the division. They can control that destiny. And we talked about it earlier about the draft picks. If they win, that makes that trade look slightly better. So, they want to win so that the Jets aren't sitting here with 2 possible top 6, 7 picks. Because it could happen. It's not like the Seahawks are just barely missing the playoffs. The Jets are sitting there, I believe, with the 7th pick right now at the Seahawks pick, and the 4th of their own. So the Jets are sitting here with 2 top 7 picks, and could get better. Could get worse, could get better. You really don't want that because then that looks real bad. You had a bad season, you overpaid for a guy, and the other team is potentially, because it's the Jets, won't happen, reaping the benefits of it.
Agree.
So Seattle has a major, major, major pride invested in this game. And the same thing, Pete Carroll may be fighting for his job. He may just say, hey, I'm already the oldest coach in the league. They want me out. I'm good. I can
I'm
go
done.
enjoy life. These are all things, but you don't know. And if you're a
Which would be
player,
very realistic, I think.
it could be. But again, if you're a player, Russell Wilson loves Pete Carroll, etc. If you don't want him gone, how are you not playing your ass off? And I'm not saying Russell Wilson isn't playing his ass off. He just hasn't been good this year.
No.
And the rest of the team has suffered because of it. But if you're somebody, think about it. Chris Carson got hurt. Pete Carroll's a big Chris Carson guy. But now Homer had to step in. Penny had to step in. All these guys had to step in. So maybe you're like, oh, Pete had some faith in me. I'm playing hard for Pete type of deal. You're those guys. You need to be going, deep because you don't know. And there's no reason for you not, realistically, there's no reason as a player to not want Pete Carroll back. He's, the pedigree's there. He won in college, he won in the NFL, including, in Seattle. That's something big. Enough out of this fandom, though. We're going to move on to the must-watch 425 game. It's a big
So,
boy
do you think the
Jets.
Cardinals will pull off the victory? I'm sorry.
They don't even deserve to.
In
That's
the
the sad
playoffs?
part. They don't even deserve to be in the playoffs. So that means then you lost to Seattle and Detroit, and you're out 5 seed. That's embarrassing.
When you were the dominant
And you're
team in
also
the beginning.
started 7-0, and you're probably going to be the 5 seed.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. So Jets Bills.
Bills. Jets gave Tampa somehow a run for the money last week.
Mm-hmm.
Won't happen again in Buffalo. We do have bad weather coming. I don't know how bad it is going to affect them. They are more north of us, so they may get it on Sunday. They may get it on Saturday. I don't know. If it's a snow game, Buffalo might win by 40. I mean, if it's not a snow game, Buffalo might win by 40. But the Jets showed heart last week for some unknown reason. But then at the end of the game, when the Jets could have put the game away, they made a stupid play call on 4th and 2. B could have took the points and would have still lost because they would have been up by 6, and then Brady drove down and won. But they could have took the points, probably still would have lost. But at least that would have looked better.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of calling a quarterback draw on 4th and 2. Look, do a bootleg. Do something. If you really want Wilson to run the ball, do that. What quarterback is just pushing the ball up the middle for 2 fucking yards? Like, literally, and I'm grateful for it because they need the higher draft pick. It literally looked like, hey, we're going to act like we're gonna play, and then when it comes down to crunch time, we're gonna we're gonna throw the game. We're gonna toss this game. They covered the spread easily. It was a big spread. They lost by 3 or whatever it was. I think they lost 27-24.
Mm-hmm.
They threw the game, easily covered the spread, so it makes them look good. Did they play better than expected? Absolutely. Was it a game that they should have won? Absolutely. But again, like I said, it's like they threw the game, and I have no problem with that because we're sitting there at the fourth pick right now. We could be even higher, but we beat two of the teams that have worse picks than us, so that's on us. That's two of our four wins. But I don't see Buffalo hasn't clinched a division, and it's in Buffalo. Good or bad weather. Obviously, it's going to be cold. Probably going to be windy. Josh Allen's still an above average quarterback. He played questionable last week. He had 2 rushing touchdowns and threw a bunch of bad interceptions.
3 interceptions.
But he threw some real bad interceptions. But you're playing the Jets. You can get away with that. I mean, the same thing happened, and I know we talked about the Saints game, and you can't deny it. Even if you saw the highlights, I had picked the Carolina to upset the Saints last week, and you could say, and I'm saying it right now, and you can tell me that I was flat out wrong. But if you look back at that game, it was a 1-point game, and Taysom Hill literally threw a pass right to a Carolina defender, and it was like this, right off his chest, and fell down to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina wins that game if that guy catches the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
it's almost like they threw the game too. I know that guy didn't drop that on purpose, but literally Carolina would have won that game if the defense back could just catch the ball. There's not one Saints guy within like 10 yards of that ball. He legitimately threw right to him. I feel like that would be the same thing if Josh Allen makes an errant pass. There's maybe like 2 guys on the Jets defense that I would trust intercepting it. I feel like the same thing would happen. The Jets would be hanging in there, and then bam, just drop something like that, like gifting a pick six. They would somehow find a way to drop it or fumble it or whatever, and that would be. But I do feel like the Bills are going to just stomp them.
The Bills have to stomp, and you said it before, and they have to clinch the division, especially with New England looking right there. You're in Buffalo; it's gonna be cold, it's gonna be windy, possibly it's gonna be snowing. Where we are, we're getting snow tonight into tomorrow.
Yep.
Obviously, Buffalo is a little bit more north of us, so you can expect there's going to be some cold weather there. Not only that, you're facing the Jets. Now, yes, were the Jets looking good against Tampa? Absolutely were. Of course, you have that old school rivalry with Tom Brady, being that he was a New England Patriots quarterback for so long. But you have the Jets also, no offense, being the Jets, saying that, yeah,
Absolutely.
they might look good one week, but then they look like absolute dog shit the next. We went to the Saints Jets game in MetLife, and the amount of passes that the Jets have dropped was ridiculous. So you said, yeah, there were 3 god awful interceptions last week by Josh Allen.
Yep.
But look at the Jets. The Jets can't even catch a ball. Granted, that was on offense. I understand defense is different, but you're still looking at the Jets. The Jets need to play smart, and the Bills need to play for the win and that division clinch. So there's no doubt in my mind that the Buffalo Bills are going to win this game, and that the Jets, mind you, may try to put up a fight, but I think the Bills at home, playoff implications, clinching the division, all that going towards them. There's no doubt in my mind that the Bills are going to walk away with this
Well,
victory.
there's one easy thing to look at too, and you touched on it early multiple times. The Bucks are banged up. Antonio Brown left the team mid-game.
Still funny.
Leonard Fournette is already out. They're getting him ready for the playoffs. Ronald Jones got hurt in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Godwin was already hurt. Antonio Brown was apparently hurt and left the team. So there weren't a lot of options for Tom Brady. So I feel like that's part of why they hung in that game. Buffalo, we're not sitting here like, wow, Devin Singletary's out, Diggs is out, this guy's out. No, the Buffalo's pretty much on offense, full steam ahead. Yeah, they lost their stud corner White, but their offense is full go. So they should just straight up stomp the Jets. Yeah.
No more to talk about this. The Bills are going to win. We're moving on. Panthers, Bucks. Bucks are at home. Really?
Again, we'll say the same things. Pride. They can't knock Tampa out of the playoffs, but they can stop Tampa from having a second round home game. That's about it. There's no McCaffrey. There's no anything pretty. So does
Bucks
Tampa
got to
just
show that you faced the Jets last week and almost lost. We're saying that again. You almost lost against the Jets.
correct? But they
This
they
is a
found a way to
team.
win.
This is a team to show why they should. Well, they are in the playoffs, but why they are in the playoffs and why they should be taken seriously. Yeah, they have some banged up players. Yeah, that Antonio Brown thing kind of looks shitty on you guys as an organization that your player in the middle of the game started fucking stripping and then just walking off, even though Mike Evans was trying to talk to you. But Tom Brady at the forefront is a leader, and he's going to say, we are home. We need to show why we are a playoff threat, why we are the Super Bowl champions,
That
and why
is
we're going to walk in and destroy
also the point.
Carolina.
It still goes through them. There's two things. Realistically, there's one thing that's going to happen in this game. Evans needs 54 yards to become the first receiver to ever have, I believe, it's 8 straight 1,000-yard seasons to start his career. So the things that will happen is Evans will get that unless he gets a serious injury. And if he does get a serious injury, the rest of the guys will be off the field at that point. Because you can't have Brady get hurt. And at this point, with the wide receiver injuries, you can't have Gronk get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. So I would not be surprised if, because again, scoreboard watching, if things are going their way or not going their way, Tampa could just absolutely just shut it down and say, fuck it. We have to play next week either way. Having Tom Brady as healthy as he could be, Mike Evans as healthy as he could be, Gronk as healthy as he could be, hopefully Leonard Fournette back for that game is more important than,
A
what you want.
division game.
Because the way it's lining up, like you said, it's hard for Dallas to move up. So you're sitting here, say you don't get the 2 seed, but you get the 3 seed or whatever. Unless the Saints get in, you're playing either Philly, San Fran, or the Saints. You dodge playing Dallas because you're not a 5 seed, or whatever. You dodge facing whoever loses the West, so you still got a pretty good chance. It's not great because anybody can win on any given Sunday, but you've got pretty good, pretty favorable matchup. San Fran's got quarterback issues, things like that. Philly has not been great all year. They don't really do much in the passing game, etc. So you're not like, oh man, we got the 3 seed and now we got to play Philly, or something like that. You got a home game and you're good. Tom, people will say the weather, and I know we're going to speed this up in a minute. Tom Brady won all the Super Bowls in New England. It gets cold up there too, so it's not like he can't go play in the cold. Is it
Mm-hmm.
easier to play in the warmth? Absolutely, but he won in the cold. So, oh no, Tom Brady has to go play in the cold. The bright side is, unless there's major things going wrong, he doesn't have to go to Lambeau the next week. So that gives that's another benefit. With that being said, I do think they'll win the game. I don't know how long the starters are going to play. I do know that Mike Evans, unless something goes real wrong,
We'll get his.
will get that record. And then after that, I don't see a ton to play for. Carolina, as I stated earlier with that dropped interception, pretty good at beating themselves. So
You're right. Bucks all the way. Patriots, Dolphins. Dolphins are at home.
okay, so and this is the second real implicating game. New England could be the 1 seed. New England could be the 7 seed. Miami can end Baltimore's season. So a lot, things can happen in this game.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Miami, so you're gonna get decent weather unless there's a hurricane magically brewing and we don't know about. But you're gonna have good weather. Patriots offense has been pretty good. It's been different. You know, 2 weeks ago Harris had 3 touchdowns. Last week Stevenson went off. So you don't know who or what, but it's been getting it done. Important game for the Patriots. Belichick is what he is. Miami again, pride thing. Have some, have that to play for, but I just think New England overall, just the will, Belichick will find a way to cheat or whatever and end up winning this game. Some clock trick he'll use or deflate the ball mid play somehow with a drone. I don't know. It'll just happen and Miami will win 22-21 and Buffalo somehow lose the Jets, and Miami will and New England will be the 1 seed somehow, and it'll be Bucks Patriots Super Bowl, and the world will explode.
Oh God, imagine! Oh my God, that would be all they would talk about.
Of course,
all they would talk about.
The master versus the star pupil, whatever.
Patriots should win this game. I think the Patriots will win this game. There's not much to add. I think Miami's miracle. I said it last week. I woke up. I said they would win. They did not win. You're coming off a loss.
Yeah, your season ended because you lost that game. This would have been such a huge game if Miami had pulled up that upset. There was no cakewalk beating the Titans, and we saw what happened. The Titans slapped them. But if Miami had pulled that off, and that would have been 8 wins in a row, now you're sitting here about to knock New England out of the playoffs if you win this game, and you're in the playoffs type of deal. Then this is the Chargers Raiders game. They may have 2 fucking primetime games if that happened, but it didn't. And the Patriots, things worked out right for them this year. Good on them.
Patriots to win though.
It's their time to put the stamp on the season and say, hey, look, we had that 1 year quick rebuild and let's go.
Oh, when you have Cam Newton, that's a disaster year. 49ers versus Rams. Rams are at home. God, I have never been a bigger fan of the fucking LA Rams than I am this week. Next week, maybe not so much if the Saints play them, but.
Well, if the Rams win, yeah, that could happen. You're correct on that.
I know.
But you need to happen this week first, and you need to handle your business. So
I agree.
So this is obviously a huge game. Rams win, they win the division. 49ers win, they make the playoffs. And if not, all hell could break loose because, like you said, there's just storylines this game. Another division game, obviously, because they all are. So if you're the Rams, if not winning the division isn't enough incentive, you can end the 49ers season.
And
the 49ers play division games tough anyway, no matter who's at quarterback. So, to be honest, and you probably going to agree, you'd much rather the Saints be in the playoffs than the 49ers if you're the Rams.
Yeah, if you're the Rams, of course you're going to want to face the Saints. Who wouldn't? I will say that as a Saints fan.
Exactly. But that's what I mean, is you would much rather the Saints be in the playoffs. It could all go to hell, and you could beat the 49ers, and the Saints could lose to the Falcons, and the 49ers still get in. Shit could happen. You don't know.
Of course.
But you need to handle your business. Go win that division. Have the 2 seed. Make people come to California. Granted, it's indoors and nice weather, but you got your crowd. You got Odell Beckham turning it around. Cooper Kupp does his thing. You need to. Sony Michel's been great filling in. So as long as things don't happen, there, you're gonna have all healthy running back. They hope to have 2 healthy running backs, but you're gonna have 1, and that's good enough for now coming into the playoffs. So what do you got? I know what you want. What do you got? Do the Rams?
The Rams are going to win by 75 points. I know I say it every week that an outrageous score, but this will be the Rams. Now, you said it before. The Rams are home. The Rams have to win. It's a division game. The Rams want to get that 2nd seed.
Yep.
49ers play hard, but if you're the Rams, you're going to want to show the Saints score. The Saints are going to win. That's just realistically, I feel the Saints are just driven to win. They're coming off the Carolina win. So you're going to want to throw that all around the stadium to make 49ers chisel in their boots. And again, 49ers, your quarterback, not as good as Mr. Stafford.
That is correct. Either way, though, I think they plaster that Saints score because if the Saints are winning, that pressures the 49ers. They have to win. If the
Mm-hmm.
Saints are losing, the 49ers may ease up, you know, and
Of
that
course.
benefits. So either way, every other score on that scoreboard needs to be that Saints Falcons score just because it behooves them, you know, one way or another to influence San Fran.
I think if this was in San Fran, I may have given the edge to 49ers, but you're
Yep,
in good old Rams territory. You're
correct.
going to be hot. The audience is going to be hot. The crowd is going to be going nuts. Let's have the Rams put that nail in the coffin. Take out the 49ers because
Hmm.
God, would that be satisfying for them? Get the
Yep.
second. I mean, I do think it will be a tight game, but I think there's just too many weapons. You said it before. Cooper Cup, one of the best wide receiver this year, bar none. Sony Michelle stepping up to the plate with Henderson out, stepping up to the plate and delivering. You have these massive, massive weapons over in the Rams, and you have it where San Fran, you don't have your quarterback. Yeah, okay, Debo Samuel, cool, great receiver over there. But when you have the playoffs coming and it's do or die, there's no doubt in my mind that the Rams are going to deliver and have that same score plastered around because that's what the Rams need to do to win. That's what the Rams need to do to shut down San Fran's any hope of their playoffs. I mean, I said earlier in the week, I'll say it again. I've never been a bigger fan of the Rams, and I stand by it. Do I want to face them in the playoffs? Probably not. But I feel like the Rams have all the energy to win this game. And like we said, Seattle has stuff to play for. So they could pull an upset against Arizona, which really could also, like I said, it's no implication with the Rams winning. They will win the division. But you have these two division teams that want to face off and show why they're the better team. And I think the Rams are going to be delivering on that aspect. Rams, I think by 10. I hope the Rams win. I pray the Rams win. Good on you, Cooper Cup. Do justice. We're going to move on because I'm pretty sure Mr. J. Rush will join me in saying that the Rams will win this game. I'm pretty sure you would have said that the Rams will win this game. So let's move on to the last one. Unless you have anything to add with the Rams
Are you?
49ers
I
game.
mean, I don't know. I could be feeling an upset here. Could be feeling it.
I mean, I said it when you stepped away. I think the 49ers
Yeah, I heard you.
are going to be playing hard and they want to win that game. Obviously, it's major implications for them to win because of the playoffs. But at the end of the day, I think that the Rams have too many
The,
weapons. They're home. I think the Rams are going to be too hungry. I think it's the Rams all the way, and I think the Rams will win by 10.
they are the better team. The way I look at it though is Trey Lance is supposed to be their future. He changes the dynamic a bit, and that's where they could cause fits. And that's the only thing. I think if Jimmy Garoppolo plays this game, I think the Rams win. I think the change in dynamic benefits San Fran, but it may be he may play real poorly because he's a rookie. You know, one team has Aaron Donald, Von Miller, and Jalen
Mm-hmm.
Ramsey, but it just changes. The big play. And don't get me wrong, Debo Samuel's had some big touchdowns, but it's not like he caught 63-yard passes. He caught the pass and then ran for 63 yards touchdowns. I just think that this could set up some big plays where the Rams get greedy. They could hit him with something big because bigger arm, quarterback who runs. You gotta watch out for that. You see how that works with Allen, with Jackson, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's gonna be enough, but in no way, shape, or form would I be surprised if San Fran did stop them because San Fran plays defense.
Mm-hmm.
Not as well as the Rams, but they play defense. And if Matt Stafford They showed an ugly stat, and I shit on Jared Goff every single week. But Jared Goff's full tenure with the Rams, he threw one pick six. And Matt Stafford's thrown like four this season. I don't remember if it's four or if it's six. Either way, it's not a good number.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get that version of Matt Stafford, which I don't expect because I love Matt Stafford, but if
I know
Matt
you
Stafford
do.
came out like that, oh, that would be bad for the Rams because the fans would go nuts because this is a game where you can win your division and possibly knock the 49ers out. And Matt Stafford no shows it type of deal. Oh God, that would be bad because the crowd would be all over them, and that wouldn't be a good thing. But I do think the Rams will win
By 10.
by 4.
I will take 4. Chargers,
You'll
Raiders.
you'll take
Raiders
the
are at
Rams winning
home.
by 1.
I'll take that too.
Exactly. So
Anything would be great. Chargers, Raiders. Raiders
all
are at
right,
home.
we're gonna close it out strong. This is the one game that they know exactly where they stand because the Colts realistically control it. If the Colts somehow lose to Jacksonville, all madness could ensue. We talked about it earlier. The Chargers and Raiders tie. If the Colts lose, Chargers and Raiders tie. They're both in. The Colts are out.
Do
Boom.
do you think that's practical?
I'm talking to you. Say I'm a coach and you're a coach. And we already know the outcome of the games. We already know what happened. The Colts play early. So we already know what happened. We're in the stadium together. I send one of my guys over to you. Hey, the Colts just lost to Jacksonville. We can tie and both get in. Let's do it. Let's make it look as good as we can look, and tie this game. How do you say no to that?
You're
The
right.
only thing about the mat is you would have to have the ultimate trust in the other team because you're in overtime and whoever's got the ball last can win it, type of deal. So, you got to trust the other team because they could not, they kick that winning field goal, you're out still. So, like we said, the only way the Chargers don't make the playoffs is by losing. Other teams lose, they're good. Things like that. So the Chargers are in good shape. They have the easiest path to the playoffs. Ties, anything, is good for them. The only way they don't get in is with a loss. So you tie, you're in. The Raiders tie, they're in. Why not? I know it wouldn't happen, and the NFL would go nuts, and there'd be fines galore and bullshit galore going on, but it
I
wouldn't
do
happen
not.
because it's a division rivals, which is why it won't happen realistically. But what is in place to stop them from tying? And you can't go out there and say, "Hey guys, you cannot tie," because what if they're playing hard, and bam, it's 31-31. Now what do you say? You guys tied on purpose? No, we fucking went out there and we scored points, and they scored points. And it just happened to happen. We've seen it. Detroit tied Pittsburgh, which could end up fucking up Pittsburgh's season. It's a game that Pittsburgh should have won. Think about how different the AFC is if Pittsburgh's sitting there with another win instead of a tie.
I agree.
Changes things dramatically. Baltimore, who still has faint hope, almost tied Detroit as well. So it's not like it's out of the realm of possibility. But even so, and as much as I would love to see those two teams fuck over the commissioner and everything, it wouldn't happen. But that would be so great. And both teams would probably get smoked in the first round of the playoffs, but it would just be great. Well, like we said, we know what'll happen, or they know what'll happen, because the Jacksonville Colts game's at 1 o'clock. So we know what's going to happen. It's more than likely it's a win and in. Whoever wins is in. Simple as that.
Who would, and if that's the case, who will be the winner in this these two teams?
The answer that I'm gonna give might be a little surprising because one team's just so much better. The Raiders.
And I agree with that.
Everything, just the way this whole season's turned out, and
Yep.
all of that, they stuck together. It's at home. Somehow they have the worst defense ever, like imaginable, and they're still in a playoff hunt. And they lost their number one receiver. They've lost their coach, and they're still sitting here playing legitimately the last regular season game of the season with something to play for. Go figure.
Let me tell you, we said it weeks ago, and we'll bring it up again. We were so against this Las Vegas Raiders team. We said they packed it in, they're done. Derek Carr is done. There's no faith in Derek Carr. And for them to come and rise, like I said last week, like a phoenix and be where they're at, how in God's green earth do you not hope that the Las Vegas Raiders pull up a win and get into the playoffs here? Just because of what this team went through this year.
Well, to be fair, we said that the only thing stopping them from packing it in was Derek Carr because he's a professional. If Antonio Brown was still on his team, we know he would have fucking ran around naked and left the team weeks ago. But Carr was going to fight till the end. They could have had 4 wins, and he would have busted his ass, and they might have lost by 40. But he would have given it all. Other people might have tanked it. He would have been like, "Hey,
I'm here to play.
Let's go." And that's why they're still in it. Is literally, and we've had this conversation on the show about, is he a top tier quarterback? Absolutely not. Is he a top tier leader? Absolutely. They've done the things. They have pieces. They look great, but they're not the best. Jacobs is not, a top 5 running back. Hunter Renfro is not a top 10, 15, maybe even 20 wide receiver. But they're fitting the scheme, and the Raiders are winning. And their late owner, Al Davis's quote was just win, baby. Boom.
And they're home.
They're winning. And they're still alive. And this again, they get in, and they're probably gonna have to go to Kansas City or something like that. And it won't be they do play Kansas City tough, but it probably won't be pretty in a playoff game. But hey, go get in, go get it done, Raiders. Give those fans something to be excited about because the Browns, the Jets, the fans know misery. Give them something to be excited about.
That stadium is going to be on goddamn fire come Sunday night.
Think about where it is. You're going to get everybody because you're going to have tourists. They'll be like, well, I got to be a part of this, everything. Yeah, that stadium will absolutely be rocking.
I like we said, we hope the Raiders, I think the miracle that happened there and just the overall come and like you said, Jacobs, maybe years ago, like when he first started, I was very high on Jacobs, and he was a very good rookie. He had a great rookie year. There was no doubt about that. But he's definitely not held a candle to what he did in his rookie year. And again,
of
Renfro,
course.
not a top 15, 20 wide receiver. But the one thing they have is the leadership from Derek Carr, which cannot be denied. And they want to play and they want to show that they are the team. And how do you not? If this was if the Chargers were home, I think we would be having a conversation where, yeah, the Raiders have looked good, but to come and to LA and beat the Chargers, that might be too much. But for them to be at home and that underdog type feeling, there's no way that they don't play their hearts out and come out with a victory. I think this game, without a shadow of a doubt, will come down to a field goal / an overtime. I see this game being overtime. There is that possibility of a tie because I think both teams are just going to play their ass off.
Yeah,
this is the game to watch this week.
They're
Without
going to be matching each other score for score because they're going to have to, one way or another. You need to win to get into the playoffs. Yes, in a scenario you could tie to get into the playoffs, but you need to win realistically. So, you can't just, well, it's okay. They're up 14, no big deal. No, you have to win the game. So, Go get it. Like I said, go get it, Raiders. If the game was home for the Chargers, Raiders used to play there. They would have had fans there too.
Mm-hmm.
So that wouldn't
I
have been a
agree.
lock. But the only thing I'd say about Jacobs is he's kind of in that same boat as Saquon Barkley.
I
They
was going
hit
to bring that up
they
too.
hit the ground running, but now that there's tread on those tires and the tires are looking a little bolder, and neither one of them are old, but
Nope.
there's tread on those tires. Barkley got injured. Okay, Jacobs had some weird little not little injuries because obviously injuries are injuries and they're painful, etc. But not to the extent of Barkley. Like he didn't tear ACLs and MCLs and PCLs and L's and LMLs and LMAFOs, and he didn't tear all those. But it's almost the same thing. They both came in the league, bam, nobody could touch them. 100-yard games, touchdowns, look great. Now they're a couple years deep. We've seen what happens with Barkley. Jacobs is on that same path, which is not where you want to be as a running back. Maybe he comes out here and boom, Josh Jacobs, 2 touchdowns, 150 yards. Boom, let's go. Raiders are in the playoffs.
Let's go Raiders. I think that's how we're going to end it.
There you go.
Thank you guys for watching so much. Of course, Mr. J. Rush, thank you as always for joining me. I
Let's give
cannot.
let's give him a little quickie.
What's up?
Next week we're going to talk end of fantasy season. MVPs, whatever players that you were disappointed in, players you're excited for, players you're excited for next year. So if you got anybody and you want to chime in, send us a message. Come on
Mm-hmm.
down and watch. Whatever. Come
When you're in
join
a
us.
keeper league, who do you want to keep? Give us options. We'll be there to help you out.
Exactly.
If you're a fantasy fan, definitely, if any week is to watch, it's definitely going to be next week.
Of
But
course.
you know where you can watch that, Mr. J. Rush?
Tell me.
You can watch it over on YouTube, the
Ken.
Improv Pete Show. You can always subscribe, hit that bell for those notifications to know exactly when we go live. You can also go over and like and follow the fan page, the Improv Pete Show 2.0, over on Facebook. We also got over on Twitter at Improv Pete. You could follow over there. We have it live every Thursday at 6:30. So make sure you chime in, bring all your energy. We always appreciate it. We can't wait to see you guys next week. Good luck to your playoff teams. Hopefully you guys make it. Hopefully the Saints make it. I need some loving for the Saints, and let's go Rams, because I love the Rams too this week. Maybe not next week, but this week I am a Cooper Cup enthusiast. Did you remember that little gift I sent you with Cooper Cup?
I did see Cooper Cup. I don't remember it fully. I just know it's
It
there.
was just a heartbeat of Cooper Cup. So
There you
I'm
go.
I'm hoping for that heartbeat of Cooper Cup to bring the Rams to victory. Let's go Raiders. Let's go. Fuck it. Let's go Bills. I hope the Jets lose so they get a better draft pick. All
There
the
we
good
go.
things to
Now you're
happen.
thinking logically.
There we go. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Same time, same channel.
Peace.